Jesse Blake Sports Report. Really? Oh, wait, really? The Jesse Blake Sports Report. That's it?
Don't forget, it's the Jesse Blake Sports Report with Jesse Blake.
That's kind of redundant.
Dude, is there a problem?
No, that's fine. I just, I thought maybe you guys would come up with something, good.
Man, just read it.
You know what? Doesn't matter to me. I get paid by the word. Let's do this. The Jesse Blake Sports Report with Jesse Blake. Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada's sportsbook.
So we have Pete Blackburn, Valley Sports, Andrew Berkshire, Game Over, Game Over Montreal. And I wanted to bring them on to do like a postseason recap, NHL playoffs, get the brackets, who they want to win the Stanley Cup. But then the Bruins decided, hey, we're going to try and beat up the Hurricanes and get a win that way. So, Pete, what happened last night? Why were they trying to just destroy everything about the Hurricanes, and why didn't it work?
Well, I guess they were trying to destroy the Hurricanes because nothing else was working. They've looked horrible across the board through the first two games. But when you look at the previous series against Bruins against Hurricanes, a big reason why there's been so much separation between Boston and Carolina is because Boston has been better at just punching them in the mouth and sort of getting them to, throwing them off their game, making them try to play the Bruins brand of hockey, which is often nasty. And that's not working. One, I think because Carolina has some bite this year that they haven't had in years past. And two, we've seen it through the first few days of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Refs are calling a lot more. And I think that they're trying to overcompensate for, the narrative that they throw the rule book out in the playoffs. I think that they're calling a lot now, possibly too much. And, the Bruins are, I wouldn't say being victimized by that, but they're shooting themselves in the foot because of that. And they're taking dumb penalties and they're trying to, rattle the cage of the Hurricanes, and they're putting themselves at a disadvantage.
Pasta running Ranta. Why did he throw out his arms? What the hell was that? It was clearly dirty. Like, I assume you guys agree it was a dirty play. Like, there's no reason for him to throw out his arms and hit his head, right?
I don't know if it was inherently dirty, and I'm sure a lot of people are gonna be like, "Oh, you kidding me? Boston bias, whatever." I think that it was more. It was a more reckless and kind of, he wasn't in control, and you have to be responsible for that. Obviously, you deserve the penalty. I didn't buy the major being called initially just because it didn't look like he was running him. It looked like he was trying. He made a hard play, tried to block the clear, and then something happened where he lost control and stuck out his arm. And for whatever reason, I don't know if he was trying to brace himself against Ranta or trying to shove him away a little bit, but he got him in the face, and obviously it looked pretty bad. So not great optically, but I don't think it was an inherently dirty play.
I feel like you give Pasternak a bit of the benefit of the doubt there. If it was Marchand, it'd be like, yeah, he tried to punch him in the face.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah.
But I feel like I understand why they called a major, because technically, according to the NHL rulebook, if you commit an infraction and it causes an injury where the player has to leave the game, you are actually supposed to give the player a 5-minute major and a game misconduct. So I saw that, I think it was 2015 with the Montreal Canadiens and the Ottawa Senators, where PK Subban did that big chop down and he tried to get Mark Stone's stick and got him on the wrist instead. And I don't know if you guys remember the whole, the microfracture discourse, where the senator said that he had a microfracture, which is really, it was a bruise.
Right.
And Subban got ejected from the game, and there's a big deal out of it. But according to the rule book, that's the way it goes. It's just that Stone came back to the game.
And then here in this instance, they reviewed it and they reversed it, and they just gave him a 2-minute minor, which was kind of surprising.
Well, I also think that they're doing that a lot more this year, because if you call the major initially, you can automatically review it and then reverse it to a minor. So it's sort of like the safe play where, we'll call it a major, and then if it is a major, we look smart, and if it's not a major, we'll just reverse it.
I'm going to hear the arguments from the Twitter sphere that Pasta knows their backup goalie's in, and he's trying to run the goalie because then he knows, hey, the third string's got to come in. I'll listen to the arguments. I'm not going to accept them, But
I'll listen to the arguments. My counterpoint will be, well, it doesn't matter who's in net if they're not putting shots on the goaltender. They got a third string goalie in net and they weren't shooting on him. So, if their plan was, if the conspiracy theorists want to put on their tinfoil hat and say that their plan was to get the third string goalie in net, the plan is not working.
Yeah. Next incident that happened during the game, Andrei Svechnikov running Hampus Lindholm. Clear hit, like Andrew, clean hit, sorry.
I only saw that replay one time. Pete, can you tell me, was the puck there? Because it was a big literally had the puck on his stick. He just had his head down. As soon as he lifted his head up, the Svechnikov was right there. I didn't have any problem with that hit. And good clean
obviously it's an extremely unfortunate result. And, presumably a concussion. But I didn't see it as like him going high or him targeting the head or anything. It was just one of those things where he had his head down, he drove through, and whether it was, incidental contact with the head or whiplash that gave him the concussion, it was just a really big hit. And sometimes those things happen and have unfortunate results.
My new worst thing in hockey is when there's a giant clean hit and then everybody starts fighting the guy who threw the clean hit.
So annoying.
I thought you were going to say the discourse. The worst thing for me is the discourse online. Oh, boy.
Yeah,
the discourse is always bad. Whether it's a dirty hit and you have like the fans of the team who committed the dirty hit, it's like, well, you got to keep your head up, or it's a completely clean hit and they're like, oh, well, it was clearly charging. Look how many strides he took, and it's like he's gliding for 50 feet.
The best part of that is the screenshots, the grainy screenshots of like the moving video, and it's like it's well after contact, and you're like, look, he got his head. Look, his feet are off the ice. It's like, oh my God, please stop.
Yeah, people taking screenshots of GIFs and then retweeting that. And you're like, no.
And you can see in like the bottom left corner, it says GIF, where they clearly screenshotted a Twitter GIF.
From their phone sitting on their couch. And they're like, no, you guys, they made the wrong call. Oh, God.
Look at the pixels, guys.
So we're all in agreement, clean hit. And the afterwards, Cassidy said Lindholm's not doing well. So I don't know if we see him again in this series, especially if it's going to be a quick one and the Bruins don't get a win here very soon. And then last thing that the Bruins did that game, Brad Marchand, Kochekov, the third string goalie that got into the game. Marchand, after the whistle, he's trying to play the puck. Kochekov doesn't get out in time. Ref blows the whistle, and Marchand hits him, slaps him with his stick. Kochekov battles back, gives him a little tap, and then another whack by Marchand. Dirty? Not really, but the battle's good to see it from the young kid. I think he's 23, fourth career game. It was good to see, but like everybody was dumping on Marchand for going at the kid.
Yeah, I don't think it was like dirty or like super malicious or anything. That stuff happens, but it's also a case of Marchand needing to not be a moron and not hurt his team. That's clearly, I'm going to call him Coochie because one, it's easier to say, and two, it's hilarious.
The Canes did too.
Yeah, right. So yeah, it's not me making it up. I'm going off I'm taking their lead. He was clearly trying to goad him into doing something stupid, and he was eating right out of his hand. He faked the slash, and then the Coochie was like, all right, well, if I'm in that in your head, I'm going to give you another little shove. He does, and then Marchand actually slashes him, and Marchand's lucky that he didn't end up with an extra two or the only two. I was surprised that they gave them matching minors. I just think you have to be smarter than that if you're Marchand, especially seeing how officials are calling the series, and they're not afraid to just throw a guy in the box to either send a message, teach him a lesson, or whatever. And Marchand knows that he's got a target on his back, so just got to be smarter than that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Marchand is almost like at his best though when he's on that line of being dumb, right? Because maybe he's just not getting away with it right now that he usually does get away with that stuff, but like. I agree with Pete. It's not necessarily dirty. It's like on that line of dumb and like it looks worse than it is. It's not the same thing as the Pasternak thing. I feel like the Pasternak thing also looks a lot worse than it was. It was probably the leg injury that put Ranta out of the game more than the like bop to the head. But the Marchand thing, like you're not going to hurt a goalie by giving them a slash in the chest area. Like if they can take 110 kilometer an hour or 110 mile an hour slap shot to the chest and not wince, I think they can take a little slash from Brad Marchand. But yeah, I feel like he's going to have a giant next game because anytime he does stupid stuff like that, he shows up offensively the next night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not going to hurt the goalie, but like you're going to hurt your team because then he gets it was coincidental minors, I think, at the end of that. But like he could have got 2 minutes, and then you're putting your team down. And the Boston struggled so much on the power play this entire series or on the penalty kill, and the Hurricanes have just been taking advantage of every power play that he's hurting his team by doing that. You know,
what I'd be worried about with Marchand going after a goalie like that is another suspension, right? Because he got suspended for doing that earlier in this year. That's what I'd be worried about from like the Boston team perspective. Is like calm down a little bit, Brad.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he's got to know that he's got a target on his back. Like, and going after a goalie is typically frowned upon, whether or not it's like a harmless slash or whatever. Like it's just going after a goalie, even if they kind of goad you into it, is considered a no across the board.
Yeah, and we're seeing all the refs call all the penalties, like you brought it up. Like they're not going easy on anybody this playoffs. Yeah. And so looking forward, game 3, does Swayman get the start? What do you think?
I would say yes. And it's not necessarily because of anything Ullmark has done or has not done. I just think it's going to be one of those, like, we desperately need a spark kind of deals. And, I think it could benefit them, but goaltending for me at this point is pretty far down the list of things that have sucked for the Bruins so far. So maybe it just kind of lights a fire under them. I feel bad for Ullmark because he's been overall pretty good, I would say. He just hasn't had much of a chance given what's in front of him.
Yeah, for me, for the Bruins, it's goal scoring. Like we talked about Marchand. Marchand hit 30 goals in March, and he finished the season with 32 goals. They've been struggling to score, and if they don't start scoring, like the season is over for them, unfortunately. And I had them going into the second round in my bracket, so like I'm looking pretty dumb on my picks because
I have them in the Eastern Conference Final to make you guys feel better. There you go.
Who are they facing, and who do you have in the Stanley Cup Final?
I have them against the Lightning in the Eastern Conference Final, and I have the Lightning in the Stanley Cup Final against the Calgary Flames, who are my champions.
Oh, okay.
Calgary is also my pick.
Ooh, look at that.
Calgary versus who you got?
I've got it Toronto.
Okay. Bold pick. You're riding the Steve Dangle visions of.
No, I'm going maximum pain, Jesse. Game 7, pain. Stanley Cup Final, overtime. Calgary Flames win.
Oh gosh. Canada would explode if there was a Calgary-Toronto Stanley Cup Final.
Yes, it would.
Did you guys catch a lot of the Lightning Leafs game last night?
Yes, I watched the whole game.
I caught it on like a second screen type of deal because I was just seething angry at the Bruins for most of that time.
Similar to how the Bruins played, penalties kind of did in the Leafs there. Andrew, what are your thoughts on Wayne Simmons going out and taking 2 dumb penalties leading to 2 goals?
Yeah, I would sit him for Jason Spezza. I think, sorry, Wayne Simmons has his uses, but I have not liked him very much in this series. I think, age is a factor with him. He's played a long, very good career, but the style that he plays, his body, is breaking down. And whenever you see him playing like 2 games, 3 games in a row, it does seem like he slows down a little bit without a break. So I'd like to see Jason Spezza in there, give them a little bit more scoring punch from the fourth line, maybe second power play unit as well. And, the Leafs, everyone's talking about them matching the physicality of the Lightning. I feel like in that first game, they didn't match the physicality of the Lightning so much as they played through it and killed them offensively. And in the second game, they kind of got caught up in the more scrums and stuff like that and got away from them. It seemed like that gave the Lightning life.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's sort of what the Lightning do, is that they suck you into playing their game and get you off yours. And obviously you want to have that edge, you want to have that toughness, but you don't want to prioritize that or let that take away from other areas of game. So I agree. I think in game 1, the Leafs just kind of they just caught the Lightning on their heels and just blew past them. And it did seem like they were kind of forced into playing Tampa's game in game 2.
Yeah. They're kind of the new Bruins in a way, right? Because I think the peak era of the Bruins, Pete, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like the Bruins, their strategy was they're going to make you play Bruins hockey, and you're not going to beat them with Bruins hockey because you don't have Zdeno Chara. You don't have Milan Lucic. And that's basically what the Lightning can say now. You don't have Victor Hedman, and he's not nearly as good as Lucic was in his prime, but you don't have Pat Maroon, who can just like bulldoze through your goalie and 2 players and then hit the boards and still be the only one standing. Like, those players they're not necessarily Hedman is, but Maroon's not a big impact player per se, but you don't also have somebody to match his physicality. So if you're going to play into that style, you're going to lose. And that's something that Boston did so well when they won their one cup and went to the final in, I think, 2014, Pete.
The won the cup? 2011.
No. The one where they lost to Chicago.
Oh, 2013. Yeah.
2013.
13. Yeah. Are you confident?
It was like challenging teams to play their style, right?
In your Lightning's pick, Pete, are you confident after the first 2 games? Like, do you think they're going to get 3 more versus the Leafs?
I mean, I think it's possible. I'm going to stick with my pick. I think that the Leafs are a good team, though. Like, I wasn't super confident in that pick off the bat. I think this is the best Leafs team that I can remember. Ultimately, the reasoning why I went with Tampa is because I have more faith in their goaltending and their back end to hold up through a 7-game series. But obviously, I think game 1 was a bit of an outlier, or will be a bit of an outlier. I don't expect the Lightning to look that bad again in this series. But I think that Toronto's going to give them a good series.
Lastly, Edmonton, LA. Is the Edmonton we saw last night where it was just 6-0, and after their back and forth first period, it was just all Edmonton in that second, and they just could not stop scoring. Is that the real Oilers? Do we finally see McDavid take control of the Stanley Cup playoffs and the best player in the league, take his team on a deep run, or are we going to see more of what we saw in game 1 where LA can shut them down because Philip Deneau is amazing at shutting down everyone? What do you guys think?
I think the series changes once it goes to LA and they get last change. I think they only got Deneau out against McDavid or Draisaitl for 8 minutes in the first game. And I don't know what the results were in the second game, but I believe in the first game between McDavid and Draisaitl against Deneau, they got 1 shot, which is nuts. He is something special in the playoffs, absolute demon. And the Oilers, they can have games like this. I do think they are going to win the series because the LA Kings, they don't have much better goaltending than the Oilers do. So they have that going for them, even though they have Mike Smith. And, Drew Doughty being out is just such a huge loss for them, even though he's not prime Drew Doughty anymore. And the Oilers are just a better team overall. But this series, I think, goes 7 because that Kopitar-Deneau matchup at center is just a nightmare to deal with. And when you're not on home ice, I think the Oilers are going to be a little bit more trouble generating scoring at even strength.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be like game 2. I don't think the Oilers are gonna run away with it. Mainly because number one, the Oilers are addicted to drama. They love to make things as dramatic as possible, especially in the playoffs. So I think that there's probably more coming there. 2, I certainly don't expect Mike Smith to post a shutout, and every game moving forward. Speaking of addicted to drama, that guy absolute fiend for it. It's hilarious.
In any way,
he really can't help himself. You could see the wheels spinning in his head as he had the puck on his stick behind the net. He was like, I have 2 open outlets, or I could go straight up the middle.
Maximum chaos all the time.
I liken it to when you're if you're at a party and you see a guy get up on the roof behind the swimming pool and you're like, oh no, he's not going to do it, is he? He's not. Please, he's going to hurt himself. He's going to hurt everybody. This is going to make the party really, really go downhill. And then he jumps off.
And he does it. Oh gosh. Yeah, no, that's Mike's. I will never trust Ken Holland because he puts his trust in a 41-year-old goalie, and I don't know, he has another year on his deal, and I don't know how you look at this situation and be like, all right, we're going to the playoffs, this is our guy, and you don't try and make a move 3 months ago when they should have made a move.
at least call up Stuart Skinner. Like, he was their best goalie in the regular season, and I don't know, do they really want Bakersfield to be that good? Like, I don't even know if they're in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. And his arguments like, no, we got Koskinen, and Mike Smith played really well down the stretch, his best hockey of his career probably, and they're gonna trust him. But I don't know how you do that. Pete, I know you have to run here in a second, but before you go, I have one question.
Okay.
Greatest Taylor Swift song of all time, and why is it Style?
Oh, that was my answer. That is my favorite Taylor Swift song. It's just like a perfect pop song. So no arguments there.
Oh, that's amazing. I had no idea. Okay, awesome.
It's my favorite album too. 1989 is my favorite album.
I cannot listen to that song without thinking about a Pete Blackburn.
Oh, that's
Blackburn
right.
Vine from back in the day where it was Milan Lucic on the Bruins vibing out to Style.
What?
The best part about that is that when I was making that, when I saw like that clip of Lucic on the bench bobbing his head, I was like, all right, I'm going to set this to music. I have to figure out what works best. Style was the first song that I tried because like I was obsessed with it at that time. The album had just come out. I was like, all right, I'm going to stick it to like my favorite song right now, see if it works. It worked perfectly. And it was just like the biggest holy crap moment of my internet career.
Oh, wow. I've never seen this. Pete, were you big on Vine?
Yeah, there were a few bangers on Vine. I mainly used it to like just transfer over to Twitter.
Right.
Yeah, this was back when Pete was just Gift Boy, as Haggerty called him.
Nice.
Yeah. He's moved up in the world now.
Well, thank you guys.
Go
ahead.
No, I just said a little bit. Thank you.
Little bit. Thank you guys for joining here today. That's Andrew Berkshire. You know him from Game Over Montreal and everything on SDPN. And that's Pete Blackburn of Bally Sports. Thank you, gentlemen. I want to hit on a couple things here before we end the show. One is over on Sports Interaction. They have these bets where you can bet on when will the series finish. We just talked about, hey, we think this will be a long series. We think this will be a quick series. I think there's some value here in these bets on when you think the series will finish. So we're going to look at Lightning and Leafs in particular. There's a 7-game, a 6-game, and a 5-game. It's going to be at least 5 games now that both teams have won a game here. If you think the game's going to go 6 or 7 games, so I'm going to rule out 5. I think both teams will get another game here, so I'm going to take 5 off the board. So we're looking at 6 or 7 games. You can place a bet on if you think the series will go 6 or 7 games, and you get 3-1 odds. So it's 3.0 on decimal odds. So if you bet $5, you multiply by 3, that's 15. You win $15. I think there's value here in all of these series if you're looking at when you think the series will finish. It's a better bet than betting on like the favorite. Because right now, if you bet the Leafs to win, it's only like 2-1 odds. If you bet on Tampa, it's similar 2-1 odds, like 2 times your money. But if you just bet like, hey, I think it'll be a 7-game series, that's 3-1 for your money. So if you're into gambling, if you're into laying a little money on the games you're watching to add a little fun to it, I think that's my tip. I'm going to be looking at those and the ones that I think will be short or long series, especially like the Kings and the Oilers. I think I have a good hold on how many games that's going to go. I'm going to be putting some money on those and looking at the 3-1 odds because those look nice. And as always, like, play responsibly. Like, this is a little tip that I use to when I started getting into gambling, because it's fairly new to a lot of people. So it'll be like, okay, I've got $100 to spend on my bets. Like, it's not a way to earn money. Like, that's a big thing you have to lay out there for people. It's not a way to earn money. It's like, okay, I've got $100 to spend on my bet, and like, how many bets do I want to make? Like, if I could do with like 100, so if I have $100 and I could do $25 bets. I get 20 bets. I don't know. There's a little tip for you on how to just play responsibly. Because that's a key thing here. We always want you to never spend more than you can, because that's what it is. It's spending money. Sometimes you win. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's what you win. But sometimes you lose, and you never want to spend. You never want to lose more than you can afford to lose. So please, if you are placing bets, play responsibly. That's it for what I'm looking at over on Sports Interaction. Last thing. I got to do my list I have here in front of me. It is a list of the top 5 most difficult things to do. No, I'm gonna change the title. Top 5 most difficult in-game sporting feats is what I'm calling it. We're gonna start from 5, and we're gonna go to 1. I've been working on this for weeks. I hope you all appreciate how much effort I've put into this. The classic coming in at number 5, hitting a baseball. In 2020, league-wide batting average was .238. That number has been trending down since 2000, where it was at .270. .238. So you think of like 2.3 out of 10 times somebody hits a baseball. It's only at number 5. Coming in at number 4, scoring a goal in the National Hockey League. Rem Pitlick of the Montreal Canadiens is the current shooting percentage leader when you account for minimum 20 games played and 20 shots taken. He's shooting 24.6%, and he is the best at it. So at number 4, I have scoring a goal in the National Hockey League in an NHL game, because it's harder to do than hitting a baseball by percentages. And I'm you know me, I'm an analytics guy, so I'm going all percentages. Stopping a penalty kick comes in at number 3 in the history of the World Cup. 71.5% of their penalty shootout kicks. Oh, teams have made 71.5% of their penalty kicks. So when you take the sample size of like the greater soccer world and professional soccer, it's about 75% success rate on penalty kicks. It's 25% likelihood you'll save that. That comes in at number 3 by the percentages. Is very hard. Now, these top 2, I think I got pretty creative with this. I dug deep into the annals of my brain and my sporting knowledge, and I came up with a top 2 that I think is concrete and you can't defeat. In the 2021 NFL season, there were roughly 2,500 kickoffs. There were only 2 kick returns for a touchdown. That's about 1 in 1,250. 1 in 1,250. That's 0.008% likelihood in 2021 that somebody would return a kick for a touchdown. That is the number 2 most difficult thing to do in-game in sports. Return a kick from a touchdown. Number 1, I don't care if you think this is cheating. Number 1, this is the most hardest thing to do in-game in a sport, in one of the like major 10 professional sports. You can figure out what they are. I've run them down before. Hitting a hole-in-one in golf. Number 1 at my list. According to the National Hole-in-One Registry, the odds of the average golfer making a hole-in-one are 12,500 to 1. A tour player, because it's not really about the average person. It's about professional athlete. In-game feat in professional sport. So the tour player likelihood of making an ace is 3,000 to 1. That is the most difficult thing to do in-game in the sport. That's my list. Number 5, getting a hit in Major League Baseball. Number 4, scoring a goal in a National Hockey League game. Number 3, stopping a penalty kick. Number 2, returning a kick for a touchdown. Number 1, hitting a hole-in-one on the PGA Tour. Thank you for being here. This has been the Jesse Blake Sports Report. I hope you like the new intro off the top. Hope that was a nice surprise for you. Catch me on the Steve Dangle podcast tomorrow afternoon. Catch me on Twitch tomorrow afternoon around 6 p.m. up to puck drop of the Leafs Lightning. I'm going to be playing F1. I've been playing F1 the last couple weeks because we took a break from 1 since 67 because Austin Matthews retired and it was very sad. So the plan with that is, I think I've worked out a plan. I'm going to play F1. I've been playing their story mode on Twitch. It's been very fun. I've been having an electric time. But I have to finish Once in 67 in some way. There needs to be some sort of conclusion. So I think the plan is I'm going to run it back Austin Matthews list for one season. If I don't win the Stanley Cup that season, then we start doing crazy stuff with the franchise mode, like trying to get every draft pick in the first round, trying to finish last, trying to trade every single person, trying to play with a minimum salary cap, moving the team. I think we just get goofy with different rules and different ways and different stipulations with franchise mode, because it's all create a player at that point. Everybody's retired from like the guys that are playing today. There's no attachment to any of these guys, so except for the ones that are on our team for a long time. But eventually even they'll go. So I think we start getting goofy with the players and what we do with the franchise mode, and then we run out the 25 years in that way. So I'm going to have fun with that in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to do F1 for probably 2 or 3 more streams, and then we'll go back to Once in 67. Catch me on Fridays on Twitch. That's what we're going to be doing. I think that's it. Listen to the Chris Johnson show. It's also out today. I think that's it. Go Leafs, go. I just hope they get 1 in Tampa here, and it's 2-2 at the end of 4. We'll see how it goes. Peace out. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here right now, listening to this or watching this, and I appreciate you, and I thank you for that. I will see you next Thursday on the Jesse Blake Sports Report. Thank you for being here.